Well, but if you no, I don't really have much because I'm out of sync. Like, I think we're like 2 ahead of what I don't know.
You haven't posted anything since chapter 4?
No. I will go and check.
Like, if you raise a crop of flowers, then maybe some of them...
Then the recessive traits are being nice, like Azrael, and the dominant traits are being mean and stuff, like Flowey. So, like, every, 8 Floweys will be like Azrael.
Every 4 Floweys if it's a Punnett square. Every 4 Floweys.
So every 4 Floweys will be...
This is still coming
So
up.
the little,
Flowey and a pop.
the little starburst... Yes. The little starburst thing that I put on the video... I put start. I guess I've told you. Yes. Okay. Sorry.
I've seen them.
So this one said, what did it say? Featuring far more questions about gardening logic than necessary.
Gardening logic?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was logic about gardening stuff. Well, I didn't need us to get more.
And then KoboldKing, speaking of himself, says the writer, who was completely clueless about gardening and tried to be as vague as possible to hide his incompetence, sheds a drop of sweat from his brow.
I like a call on YouTube.
And then later he says, a farm of floweys. I'm not sure what to make of that. I feel simultaneous fascination and horror.
Hey, he could make that into a story he would like, which I probably wouldn't like.
Mm-hmm. Also, he wants to remind you that potted plants can get weeds in them.
Yes, but if they're in a greenhouse...
Well, I'll bet you...
Yes,
I'll bet you still
in
can.
A lot of places.
Yep.
I suppose. I'm not saying it's impossible, but if you have it in a greenhouse...
Then the forum devolved a little bit in... I'm sorry, what were we saying? I was interrupting. Yes, anyway, then the forum devolved into Azrael punching for a little while.
What? Azrael what? Azrael punching?
Punching.
Excuse me?
I know, that's exactly what I said.
What? I need to... Can I see this?
Nope. What? It's just, don't... You shield your eyes from it.
Alright, but what is
that? Also, he hoped that you noticed the fact that Asgore for the first time called Frisk not Frisk, but my child instead.
Mm-hmm.
After that conversation essentially solidified his wildest hopes to him, it's the first time he calls them my child.
He doesn't usually as well.
Anyway. Yes.
I still need to know who would be crazy enough to do the Azrael punching.
So
what was the Azrael punching?
I don't understand, but somehow, there's emojis and things on various servers, and every server has default ones, and then you can have special ones. So somebody appears to have created a punch Azrael in the face emoji, and
That's not.
no, I don't even know where it came from. It just suddenly started showing up.
That's so sad.
Yes.
I need to see this.
It is tragic. Yes. Well, what can I say? It's I don't understand. I don't understand it. Somebody tried to reason that they were punching the trauma out of him, but I don't buy it either. Anyway, let's move on, shall we?
Yeah, let's go.
Shall we move on to chapter 7?
What does the emojis look like?
Azrael and a fist punching in the face.
Well, Catherine, aren't you on that Discord server?
No, not that one.
I'm not on the Undertale one.
Just the mist ones.
All the mist ones that I can find that on.
All right.
Tell everyone who is listening to this recording that I like the game Mist.
All right, I'm sure everybody will be writing that down for your future biography.
I have a Mist Undertale crossover that I'm working on with Fly Unhindered.
I know.
Yes. So go play Mist and then you can read our cool thing. It kind of takes more than one game. It's not canon to anything!
Anyway.
Also, they'd have to read the book.
Chapter 7.
Wait. Oh, right. Yes.
Chapter 7. Unless you want to hear chapter 6 again.
Chapter 7.
Chapter 7, Your Best Partner.
Oh, yeah. Wait, is Azrael in this?
Well, why don't you just wait and see and find out that the answer is no.
Okay, got it.
Proceed.
The rest of the evening was normal. They had dutifully done the dishes after dinner. It had been decided long ago that doing this chore was well worth not getting boss monster fur stuck in the drain, and it wasn't exactly onerous to clean for 2 people anyway. Sharing a body halved the amount of dishes and laundry on their part, which made it a bizarrely economical arrangement in some ways. Frisk laughed at the observation. They had bidden Toriel good night with another tight hug, and for the first time that day she seemed to be treating them like nothing was wrong. That couldn't be further from the truth, but it felt nice. They slowly got ready for bed, Chara going through the same routine they had watched from the back seat hundreds of times for 2 years. Frisk was quiet for a while, seeming to need a while to put their thoughts into words. Chara didn't try to rush them. The conversation at dinner had exacted a heavy emotional toll on both of them, and they wouldn't be able to easily put today into words either. "I would ask you if you had a good day," Frisk said finally, "but I already know that you did." Chara rolled their eyes in front of the mirror, but it was with a certain fondness. "All things considered, it was nice. We didn't die from the fish tacos, so I have little to complain about." "Yeah, I figured that we could trust Sans. He's too lazy to kill us." They shared a soft laugh before Frisk continued with a somewhat more serious tone. "You know, Asgore and Toriel really liked seeing you." Chara felt uncomfortable. This had been the one thing that ate at them more than anything else today. The cruelty inherent in their happy-go-lucky joyride through Frisk's life. "I hurt them so badly by leaving, and I reminded them of all the pain they felt just by being myself today." "Come on, you're being mean to yourself. Happy tears, remember? And remember what Toriel said?" There was little they could say to that, finding themselves guiltily unable to make eye contact with their reflection. "Yes, I remember." Frisk was also silent for a bit longer, a feeling of anxiety welling up in them. "I'm not going to nag you about it, 'cause it's your choice, but if you ever do decide to let us tell them about you, the whole truth about you, they won't be mad." For the past 2 years, they had always given a flat no at the suggestion. Today, they took a moment before slowly shaking their head. I can't, Frisk. Toriel says her love is unconditional, but she won't even forgive Asgore. She knew him way longer than she knew me." "That's different," Frisk said cautiously, picking their words with care. "We forgave him, but he gained a lot of LV. I would have too, if Azrael hadn't." They trailed off, not letting themselves go down that line of thinking. It was too painful in so many ways. They clenched their eyes shut, breathing raggedly as the memories threatened to invade their space. It was like they were there again, in the body of an angelic boss monster, their own corpse held in their arms, feeling Azrael in their mind as surely as they could feel Frisk today. Weapons, pain, screaming, fighting Azrael for control, begging him to fight back, trying desperately to wrest control of their limbs and their magic away from him. But they couldn't win. They had the willpower to kill themselves slowly and painfully all week, but they couldn't win this fight. Dying, dragging themselves back home, smiling, the one thing that he was allowing Chara to control, smiling the pain away, was all they were good for in the end. Their souls shattered. They both died for nothing. "Chara!" Frisk's voice was soft but shattering, a shot of reality that pulled them abruptly back to the present. "Breathe!" They obeyed the command, breathing in and out, focusing on the breath and the voice that they heard. It's okay, Frisk continued gently. It's okay. We're fine. You're fine. Chara exhaled shakily, their vision blurry. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. You're right here with me. Mom is just down the hall. You're fine. He's not. That brought a stunned silence from Frisk before a slow understanding filled them. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Fine. I mean, it's fine. You didn't say anything wrong. Chara stuck to their slow breathing, focusing in on it, taking another minute to make sure they didn't drift into those bad memories. Frisk waited patiently. The memories didn't drag them back under, but they were a long way from gone. So was the hopeful mood that they had left dinner with. You know, Frisk said suddenly, I'm not really tired. You want to take a stroll? It's been a while. They considered that for a moment, before slowly nodding their head. That sounds nice. We still have our spot. They listened intently for their mother's footsteps and the gentle closing of her bedroom door to confirm that she wouldn't be double-checking on them tonight, and quietly, expertly slid open their window and slipped out. They had done it before. Or rather, Frisk had done it before, and Chara had tagged along with snarky dialogue. They never went any further than their special spot. There was a pleasant area of unowned woods around the home Toriel had managed to acquire. Well, undoubtedly some wealthy human with too much land owned it, but if so, they were miles away and had no presence here. It was a nice place to walk, spacious and yet cozy. Secluded and yet open, foreboding but welcoming, perfect for a creepy teenager. Better yet, there was a nice.
Which one of them is the creepy teenager?
Yes.
Better yet, there was a nice tree here with an amazing view from the top. Sometimes they'd climb it and simply sit there for a while, getting away from the rest of the wild, chaotic world and all the damage they had caused to it. Well, that was Chara's reasoning. They were sure Frisk was a little more well-adjusted when it came to their tree. They grabbed a branch and tried to pull themselves up. They almost immediately lost their grip and fell down on their tail. It hurt, but their pride was hit worse than their HP. Frisk felt more amused than anything else. Resteadying themselves, they made another try and again couldn't quite make it up. This wasn't as easy as it felt like when Frisk did it. After another couple failed tries, they addressed the voice in their head. All right, fine, take us up there. How about I walk you through it? Frisk suggested instead. It's easy. I will just fall again. Nah, 'cause this time you'll have me. Come on, Chara, stay determined. They sighed. All right. Okay, so you want to grab onto that spot right there, closer to the base. With Frisk guiding them step by step, branch by branch, it didn't take long to reach their usual spot in a nice little crook up the tree. A comfortable place just the right size for them, at just the right height to catch the cool country breeze in their face. And honestly, it felt kind of nice to have done it together. Almost as nice as the view. The view. They could see Mount Ebott from here. They could just make it out as a dark shape against the starry sky, a shadow that loomed over this whole part of the country. It was one of the very few things that looked exactly the same in Frisk's time as it had in Chara's. Having seen it every day growing up was another something they shared, as surely as their dreams and their bruised tailbone. It was beautiful. Their early memories weren't all bad then, just most of them. Like Frisk, they hadn't found real happiness until they had climbed the mountain. Foolishly. They had both picked death while completely oblivious to the beautiful civilization beneath their feet. The underground had saved them both. The surreal parallels kept coming. The first person that they had both encountered had been Azrael Dreamer, albeit under vastly different circumstances.
Yeah.
They had both stayed for a time at a Dreamer family residence. They had both, little by little, realized that they were the only one who could save monster kind, that they could repay the underground for saving them. That was where it ended. Frisk had succeeded. Chara's failure had been so absolute that it still caused pain and misery to this day.
But if Chara hadn't failed, then Frisk couldn't have done it because there wouldn't be more souls for Flowey to absorb. There wouldn't be a bunch of souls. If Chara hadn't died, then Asper wouldn't have taken all the souls.
Yeah.
If Chara hadn't died, then he wouldn't have had to. Then when Frisk fell, maybe Frisk wouldn't have fallen, probably, because things would be definitely different.
I feel like
by the time Frisk existed, all of the monsters would be in society.
I feel like Toriel, after they left the underground, she would put arrows or something leading to the exit to the underground in case someone accidentally fell down.
She would walk up the hole, probably.
Oh yeah, true.
Yes, lots of what ifs. Frisk was the reason monsterkind lived on the surface in peace and harmony with humanity. They were the reason they went to school with human and monster kids alike. They were the reason the future had hope. Chara was the reason Toriel and Asgore lived apart when they had been so inseparable back then. Chara was the reason 6 unknown humans had been murdered out of bitter vengeance. They were the reason Toriel obsessed over Frisk's mental health. They were the reason their first best friend was living the cursed unlife of a soulless flower in the caves the rest of his kind had been freed from. Chara? Frisk's voice was careful but concerned. I'm getting the feeling that you're being mean to yourself again. Is it that obvious? Chara gave a forlorn sigh, staring dismally off at the mountain. Apologies. You must be thinking of how ungrateful I am. I get to borrow your perfect life for a day, and I'm miserable nonetheless. No, of course not. Frisk sounded upset, their playful demeanor from a minute ago long gone. Chara started to realize they had been too embroiled in their own self-pity to have realized Frisk's feelings had been just as dismal. I'm just frustrated. Not at you. This time, it's just... This isn't perfect at all. Chara frowned. What do you mean? You have friends and family? You are the hero of all monster kind? You saved everyone. Not everyone. Frisk's words took a moment to sink in, but they were already starting to ramble in the way that they did when they were truly upset. I wanted to save everyone. I wanted to make up for everything I did the first time. I wanted to make sure everyone was happy. And I almost did. I came so close. Frisk, I tried so hard to save Azrael, but there was nothing I could do. He turned into that thing again, and there's nothing I can do about it. This isn't your fault, Chara insisted, feeling pained. I am the reason that he is like that. I would have done anything to bring him back, but... And you! Chara went quiet. I wanted to save you! I poked around Alphys' lab. I poked around Sans' shed. I tried to look for something, anything that might get you a body back. But I failed at that too. Is that what you were trying to do? Frisk, I gave up on that a long time ago. It is neither your fault nor your responsibility that I just wanted you to be happy. Now they both went quiet. Frisk still an emotional mess, and Chara at a loss for words. They sat in the tree for a little bit longer before Frisk sniffed, speaking again with a heavy internal voice. "Sorry," they said finally. I know you're not happy up here with me. Some days I can tell you're spending every minute trying not to cry, and I can't help but feel like I couldn't save either of you. There were only 2 people in the whole underground who actually understood me, and I couldn't save either of them. And if they don't deserve to be happy, then why should they?" Frisk didn't finish the thought, but they didn't need to. Chara felt the exact same way about having left Azrael behind to become a flower again. They would have stayed there with him if they could have, if only because the life on the surface with Frisk was so much more than they deserved. But this wasn't about them. This was about Frisk. "Hey," Chara said awkwardly, "I wish we could have done more for him too. You know that I do. But if it's me you're worried about..." They took a deep breath, trying, and largely failing, to find a way to phrase themselves that didn't embarrass them to the core. "When we spend time together, I don't feel for a second like you failed to save me. It's the opposite. You saved me even though I didn't deserve it. You are just that unbelievably good." There was a slight warm glow at that, but it was quickly replaced by guilt. Shame, even. "I know you mean that," Frisk said shakily, "but you should know better than to think of me like that. I'm not that good. We both remember that." Chara was quiet. The memories of Azrael and their first and second deaths were all theirs, but there were plenty of other bad memories that they shared with Frisk. They could tell the exact same memories were playing in both of their heads right now. Monsters turning into dust, flowing through their fingers as though they hadn't been alive and magical mere moments ago. Wielding an empty gun like a club while darting from tunnel to tunnel in the core, terrified out of their wits. Undyne's body. Mom's soul shattering before their eyes. Frisk sobbing hysterically, crying over and over that it was an accident. They hadn't meant to get that mad. They hadn't meant to. It was hard, but Chara pulled themselves back to the present. They sensed Frisk was having a harder time doing the same, so they tried to pull them back with a calm, collected tone. "Frisk, none of that happened." They felt tears stinging at their eyes, and this time they didn't think that they were their own. Frisk's voice was shaky. "But it did. We undid it, but it's still... And I still do it. I don't hit people, but I get so angry, and I say what I don't mean, and I'm selfish. It's been 2 years, Chara. How can you say that I saved you when it's been 2 years, and this is the first day I've ever let you have a turn?" Chara felt the tears running down their cheeks. Their breathing was picking up involuntarily, their vision going blurry. No, not this feeling. Not this feeling. Not this feeling. Frisk, calm down. You are not a child. Stop crying. "I'm sorry. I'm trying not to bring this up with you because I know..." Their voice died off, their face contorting in an effort to fight back the tears. The emotions were still there, raging, hurting, battering against the thin walls separating their psyche like a hurricane against a glass window. This was what had been building all day. No, for 2 years. All of a sudden, Chara felt angry. Not at Frisk, not at the world. A targeted fury towards themselves. Even when they were trying their best to be loving, their worst attributes would rear their ugly head to ruin everything. Were they that blind that they couldn't see this? Were they that stupid that they would repeat the same mistakes they had made with Azrael? Were they that cruel? They spoke again, this time out loud. It was only a whisper, but coming through their choked voice from out of the quiet, it was almost deafening. Frisk, it's okay. The storm didn't subside, but they felt Frisk's surprised attention from the midst of it. They had never spoken out loud to one another, if only for the pragmatic reason that people would think that they were insane. But it felt important right here and right now. It's okay, they repeated shakily. Just let it out. But, Frisk stammered, sounding hurt and confused. But you just said... I know what I said and what I always say. Just pretend that I'm not here. Their voice was cracking, tears running down their face, a ragged sob forcing its way up their throat. This time they tried not to fight, nor to stop their hands from flying up to cover their face. They just cried. They let the sobs come out of them. They remained quiet as Frisk worked their way through it. After everything, after all the support they had gotten from them today, the least that Chara could do was allow them this. Emotions raged, and their faces became grubby and wet with tears. Their own memories flashed through their mind, and by the time their eyes were dry, it was starting to seem like they were sharing the tears, like they shared everything else. For a short while, everything broke down. Their defenses, their barriers, their very selves. Just a broken human crying in the woods. But eventually they found themselves again, as they always did. Their emotions grew more distinct. Frisk's guilt became theirs, and Chara's became theirs. The misery Frisk felt grew separate from the hollow grief that Chara knew so well. Sorry, Frisk said finally, voice choked even in their own mind. Today was supposed to be all about you, and here I am at the very end making it all about me. You don't have to let me do that. It's okay, Chara said softly. They surprised themselves with their own tone. They spoke internally again, out of fear that they would break down again if they tried to use their real voice. But on the inside, they were managing the consoling tone that they meant. The consoling tone that they should have been using with their partner all along, if they had any more emotional awareness than a bacterium. It's really okay, Frisk. Today isn't really about either of us. We're both miserable creatures from day to day, and we should be there for each other. It is truly pathetic that I have shirked that responsibility so often. I haven't even been a voice of comfort when we share nightmares, Chara interrupted, voice firm. Their lips twitched into a miserable smile, their eyes stinging. That bothered you more than my bossiness, didn't it? That's the real reason you snapped at me and started all of this. Frisk's silence told them everything. They closed their eyes, sucking in a shaky, barely controlled breath. Listen, they said finally. They put a deliberate note of command into their voice, and they could feel Frisk obey. This is going to be sappy, and it isn't going to help much, but I am going to say it anyway. They took another breath, less shaky this time, more sure of themselves. They were discussing the one thing in life that they were sure of. You are a great person, Frisk. Warmth, guilt, affection, doubt. Frisk's emotions were an open book, especially in such a raw state. Even more certain that their input was needed, Chara continued. Most humans would never even consider sharing their body with a ghost. You didn't just consider it. You demanded it. After 2 whole years, I never asked for control. I had no right to ask. I was content to be the bossy voice in your head, and you put up with a lot more from me than you deserved. You make yourself sound so awful, Frisk muttered. But it's never been like that, no matter what I said when I got mad. You're my best friend. And you are mine, Chara admitted. They felt tight in the chest, barely able to keep going. They continued. No, that's not even it. You are something really special to me, Frisk. You're someone who makes mistakes like everyone, but you always do your best to fix them. I admire you so much for that. If it weren't for you, I would probably still be rooting for the extinction of my own species. In my eyes, Frisk, you redeemed all humanity.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
A big thing for Chara to say.
That is. You've seen the kind of person I've been, Chara. You were there. You saw. Frisk, I have been with you every single step of the way. I remember every step you took since you first fell down and every last reset. I see everything that you see. I feel everything that you feel. I hear everything you say and most of what you don't. So please, listen to me when I say... They were hugging themselves tightly, hands squeezing their own shoulders in a desperate gesture. You are full of love, Frisk. You are amazing. And though I know I haven't done a good job at making you realize it, I want you to know that when you look in the mirror, there is someone there who loves you more than anything. They want you to love yourself too. Silence. Frisk's emotions were reeling, like everything had been sent spinning around them. Chara couldn't tell what they were feeling now. They could barely tell what they themselves were feeling right now. They had said exactly what they wanted, what they needed to say, but at the same time it made them feel so raw, vulnerable, exposed, unsafe. They hated pouring their heart out. They hated feeling weak. They hated not smiling. But they hated hurting their loved ones even more. And today had been a reminder of just how many people they had put through hell. They couldn't let Frisk join that number, not any more than they already were. Suddenly they were shaken from their own spinning world by the sensation of their own hand reaching upwards to softly touch them on the cheek. They opened their eyes in surprise, feeling a strange affection in the touch. Frisk's feelings were coming sharper into focus. Gratitude, happiness, awkwardness, love. If only Mom and Dad could see them now. A weird teenager sitting alone in a tree, cupping their own face in their hand with clear, almost romantic affection, smiling at nothing. They must look so insanely creepy. But it felt nice. Really, really nice. Despite all of that, Chara said after a long while, you're still a bit of a freak. Frisk's voice was weak, and their shared cheeks were hot. Well, and so are you then, because you like it. For once, Kara found it hard to argue with them. But, Frisk's voice remained quiet and serious. You're wrong. Kara blinked before feeling a sinking sensation. Frisk amended themselves quickly. What I mean is, you said it would be sappy and it wouldn't help. But you're wrong. It did help. It helped a lot. Oh. Kara still felt awkward to have laid themselves so bare, but not as much as they thought they would. After all, it was Frisk. It was silly to feel vulnerable with Frisk, wasn't it? It is the least I could do. You've been here for me all day. Maybe we should try to be there for each other a little more. It's not exactly like it's inconvenient to hit each other up. Not at all. They pondered the day behind them, the way Frisk had backed them in anything, and how close to being genuinely happy they had become. They weren't quite there. There was still so much heartbreak surrounding them, so much unresolved misery in the lives they wanted to desperately be a part of again. But they were close to being happy again. It was within reach. They just needed a little help reaching it. Frisk, they said slowly, I want to work for a happier ending. I'm with you. I know you are. Silly, sentimental thing that you are. They could tell Frisk was the one blushing from that. Not tomorrow, but starting soon, I want to start reaching out to people. I want to be honest with my family that I'm still alive. Isn't it pathetic that weirdo skeleton is the only one who knows for sure that I'm here? Not pathetic, but definitely weird.
Santa knows everything.
Indeed. Yeah. They closed their eyes in thought, hand still on their own cheek, savoring the company in their head. They breathed out a sigh. I feel like we will have made a sizable step forward just by opening up to each other more often. There is no good reason for us to bottle everything up until we become the world's first solitary human being in need of a couple's therapy. Frisk laughed at the joke before trailing off with a strange new sensation. Kara cocked their head, wondering and worrying what it was that they had said. What? Did I say something wrong? Nah, you just, you kind of called us a couple. Oh. Uh-oh. They didn't know they could blush any more than they already had today. It was, it was simply a choice of, listen, technically speaking, look, we are having a moment here. Don't make it weird. I'm not.
I think the whole thing is weird. When they're in the tree alone.
Yeah. Yes. Frisk's side of the mind, though having been gloomy most of the time out here, was taking on a mischievous streak.
Oh dear.
But if you think about it, we are a little weird. You're the weird one here, Frisk. So are you, because you love me. Maybe.
Wow.
Come on, let's go to bed. It didn't take them long to climb down and head for home, easily sneaking back in through the window and quietly getting ready for bed. There were a lot of emotions bouncing back and forth in their heads, and it was exhausting. They were exhausted all the time, come to think of it. They carried so much baggage with them wherever they went, so much unresolved pain and strife. It was bound to bring them down eventually. In a way, they were fortunate they were so firmly held together. It would be impossible to carry these burdens alone. All right, Kara said finally as they settled themselves under the covers. Are you ready to go to sleep and face Monday? Mm-hmm. But I want you to take the day after. That wasn't the deal. I said that I would take 1 day. I know, and I'm not going to refuse to get out of bed or anything, but I'm being serious. I want to share, so you need to know that it's yours if you want it. It's long past time we started taking turns. Chara quietly mulled it over. As much as they didn't want to claim so much of Frisk's life, well, that was the problem. They did want to claim that much life for themselves. Today had felt freeing, even intoxicatingly so. It had been such a long time since it was them breathing, since it was them choosing the right words to say next, since they had actually wanted to live. 3 days, they said finally. I will take 3 days a week, no more. Frisk considered this. But also no less, they said, almost businesslike. Chara nodded. Then it is agreed. You will give me your Tuesday, your Thursday, and your Sunday, and, in return, I will never again rush you or argue how you spend your time. No, don't promise that, Frisk said. Something in their tone made Chara feel like the words would physically be accompanied by a fake pout. It just won't feel the same if we never bicker at all. Ha ha, they replied, sarcastic but amused. Very well then, I will cut down on arguing with you, and on my days you will be expected to loudly disagree with as many of my decisions as you please. Deal, said Frisk happily. Then a moment later, a little more quietly. I'm excited for this, Chara. I hope you are too. I am, they said, perhaps a little shyly. They had to stifle a yawn, their long, emotionally and physically complex day starting to take its toll. They felt a similar exhaustion from Frisk. Then good night, Chara. Sweet dreams. Likewise. Good night, Frisk. They were quiet, rolling into a comfortable position and letting the silence of the room slowly take them to sleep. Frisk's voice interrupted the silence again. And by the way, the first thing we are doing tomorrow is having a long bath, because you got dirt and pollen all over us. Good night, Frisk. I love you too. The end.
Save Asriel. What's the next chapter? The next chapter should be Save Asriel. What's the next chapter called? Save Asriel?
That was a long chapter.
What's the next chapter called?
The next chapter is called Our Life.
Yeah, they're not saving Asriel. Wait, so
that's right.
That is true.
So
what?
There's a thing. If Chara,
it's not your this and your that anymore. Now it's Our Life.
If Chara is mad because Asriel has to be a flower, Frisk is mad because they really want to save Asriel.
Yes.
And Toriel and Asgore both miss Asriel.
Yep.
There is one solution that would fix all of this.
Move away from Mount Ebott and try to forget about it all.
They're already moved a bit away from Mount Ebott.
What is it? What's the solution?
And if Frisk wants Chara to be
What is the solution? I can't.
You can't?
I can't. What?
Save Asriel.
Save Asriel. Wow. Oh, wait a minute. They tried.
Well,
Frisk tried everything possible. He even tried to save Chara.
Chara should be, but Chara could be a robot like Mettaton. Chara could be a robot like Mettaton.
But Chara doesn't necessarily have a soul.
Yeah, Chara is, Chara does not have a soul.
Alphys could probably adapt it.
Yeah.
Use some MTT soul substitute.
Yeah, sure. See?
That sounds like a really...
I feel like
and give some to Asriel too, and hopefully...
Wow.
No, but seriously.
It'll probably have some bad side effects.
It will.
I mean, that little entire chapter is leading up to what if you saved Asriel? That would literally, make Chara so happy, and make Frisk so happy, and make the entire family so happy, and make Asriel so happy.
So what happens if you're trying to write a bittersweet but tender story about Chara and Frisk?
Yeah.
I see. The sequel is Chara trying not to drown in a lake.
That is a side story?
and also discovering the horror of yes, discovering the horror of spiders in chocolate muffins.
Was that also KoboldKing?
Yes.
Yes, those were the same. Those are.
Yes. In retrospect, I should have read you this one first, but I was doing shorter one shots, so.
There was some
boo for me.
They roll their eyes in front of the mirror, but why would you do that? Because you can't see yourself roll your eyes in a mirror.
Sure you can.
No, you can't.
Whatever.
And since they see out of the same set of eyes, neither of them would have been able to see it. Oh well, they would both.
No.
They felt it.
Yeah.
How that works.
Okay, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that chapter.
It was a very chapter.
Why did you do that?
That was a long chapter. Let me see how long the next one is in terms of word pages. So that was about 18ish. If I don't mistake myself, this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
1800.
All right. So next time will be a little shorter.
18,000 words is like a lot.
I mean 1800.
This whole story has a little over 25,000 words.
It's like our entire story minus 10 chapters. Oh wait, how many chapters do we have again?
Many?
I don't remember.
All of them are probably 10,000 pages.
Story is very many words.
Story.
Yes, it has an amazing name.
Yes, we literally.
We don't have it.
Anyway, about this story, is there anything else? I really feel like saving Azrael would do it, and I actually think this chapter would totally
just get some NPT soul substitute.
They were
and then you'll have
talking about how sad it was that Azrael wasn't there, and how they wish they could save Azrael, and how they're both so sad that Azrael isn't there.
Okay, so you use.
But sometimes the cold, hard truth is that there's no solution.
Well, they should go back.
There
and say
are plenty
that
of solutions.
Okay, KoboldKing does something with soul substitute, and then we get the Azrael and Kara are safe, and he gets the weird side effects. Because
I don't think we need any weird side effects.
What, Azrael gets the weird side effects?
No.
KoboldKing gets to incorporate weird side effects if he wants, if that's his thing.
I don't think that would satisfy.
Oh, okay, I see.
KoboldKing
So,
just weird side effects.
Since KoboldKing cannot be convinced to be purely fluffy, we have to give an outlet for some angst and tragedy.
It's like an inverse.
Okay, well.
But don't tell this, Emily. Whatever he does is going to be something that's purposely going to make us sad.
It better be mostly good. Wait, I don't know what I'm.
Well, I appreciate you trying to help KoboldKing write a bittersweet Save Azrael story.
The story would actually be kind of an interesting plot.
We read a story involving Azrael getting MTT soul substitute.
Yes, no, but
that was by
that was
Hushbugger.
But doing a story where Kara and Azrael turn into an amalgamate would be a weird thing, but that would be a really weird plot point that I don't think anyone's ever done.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it would be a good optimal ending to this.
It would just be an untapped mine of story writing.
I feel like that could lead to some plot.
Oh, like a whole series.
Yeah, I think that would
Amalgamate
be,
tale.
Kind of I feel like that's
Undermate.
What?
That sounds like you're trying to say checkmate, and you're.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, yeah. So if as long as they don't die in a puddle of goo on the floor, as long as they actually survive and can talk to each other like an amalgamate,
And can talk to people.
and actually act like an amalgamate, and it's Kara and Azrael, I feel like that would be an interesting plot idea.
Well, I mean, for that matter, Azrael does canonically exist in this story, just as a flower underground. So
They literally just left him and
Azrael's-
moved away so far you could not even see the mountain unless you look.
I think it was just
Where-
dark. It was dark, so you couldn't see it, but it said it loomed over the country. So.
You know what it said? It was a point on the horizon, didn't it?
Catherine, they didn't move away. They just went into the
Or
city
in the
that was
distance?
there. They just went into the city that was there that you can see from the mountain. They didn't move away from it.
They could make it out as a dark shape against the starry sky, a shadow that loomed over this hole. So it was just dark, but it's right there.
Okay, that's
I mean,
better.
they're down in the valley somewhere.
That's better.
So they should at the very least, they should, like, go and see Azrael and have a talk. Or something.
Well,
I feel
maybe
like they would do that.
maybe if Kara
Right,
ever gets to
people.
the point where they are willing to reveal themselves.
Yes, they should do that.
Anyway,
Okay, well, next time we will end the story. So,
and we better, can we please make a petition to ban the, punch Azrael in the face emoji from the Discord forever?
no, I think it's
Because that is the
it's
most
apparently too
worst
amusing
thing.
to a number of people that
Oh, dear.
I'm guessing KoboldKing finds it amusing.
don't know.
I sure hope no. I bet like the Archimage would not use that.
I couldn't tell you that either.
Is there a punch Kara in the face?
There's not. I don't think there's a
Is
punch
there a
anybody
punch
else in the face.
person who made the punch Azrael in the face.
No, I don't think there is.
Well, you know the mods usually have to make the emojis.
Mm-hmm. Yep, somebody must have put it in there.
Somebody cared enough to mod an entire Undertale server, but they also decided to make an.
A punch Azrael, yeah. I don't know.
Those probably are the people that didn't comfort Azrael when they did the pacifist route.
Yeah.
After doing a genocide route.
Maybe after 4 years, people have just suddenly, their opinions of Azrael have just completely seesawed, and they're tired of him, and they just want to see him punched in the face. I'm not saying it's correct.
Yeah, I'm
Or
saying
good.
it's about the opposite of correct.
Okay, you are saying is the opposite of correct.
How would you see a fluffy, cute goat monster boy with floppy ears who's fuzzy and furry and cute and punch him in the face? Like, why would you do that?
I can't think of a reason.
Good.
I don't think anybody would ever do that.